Claudia with Crazy Island Studios, and welcome to another edition of Freedom Journal Friday. This week we are going to be having some fun with napkins. I'm going to show you this really fun technique. Let me tape my page real quick. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys a technique today that you can use when, let's say, you either don't have a ton of time, you don't have a ton of inspiration, and you want to make a page, but maybe you just don't know what to do. Sometimes people are stumped and they're like, what do I do? Or I can't paint the way that I want to be able to paint, and I want to make something cute. What can I do? So that's what we're going to do today, is I'm going to show you a really fun way to help whenever you're in that kind of situation where either you just don't know what to make, you want something simple, you don't have to think too much, or you're feeling like maybe you can't do what it is that you wish you could create. Like, we all have our skill level, we have to build up to a certain skill level. So if your skill level for your art isn't where you have the abilities yet to make the things that you want, sometimes there are little tricks that you can do so that you can still get what you want down on a page while you are still working on building your skill set. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you a technique using a napkin to pretty much create your page. A napkin. Any printed napkins. There's so many. This is actually one that was sent to me during a napkin swap that we held on my Facebook group. And if you guys aren't familiar with that, I do have a group on Facebook. It is called Crazy Island Family, and you're more than welcome to join us there. There's a mess of awesome people over there. We have a bunch of members, and we all share our artwork, whether we're new to art, we've been doing art for a long time. We share it, we get support, we get tips, we get advice, we ask questions. It's a great place. I hope you guys will consider joining us over there. It's a lot of fun. To start with on this one, I'm going to use this napkin. Again, this was sent to me in a swap. We do have, some swaps every year over there. The main thing you want to do whenever you are collaging with napkins is make sure that you divide, and I started this one because they're hard sometimes to get started, but you want to make sure that you divide your napkins down to their final layers. This is a 2-ply napkin, so there's the inner layer and then there's the printed layer. Some of them have 2 of these. They're 3-ply napkins and they have 2 of these. If you start gluing down without removing that, your top layer, the one that you want to see, is going to just peel right off, because the glue is really only going to stick. You're going to put glue on the paper, you're going to stick down this layer, and then you're going to put glue on this layer, and there's nothing holding them together. When they get wet, they separate. So make sure that you pull your layers off. Save these. These are fantastic. You can spray them and make them into colors, or you could just crumple them up and use them as texture on your page. So you should always save the back of your napkins. They make great texture bits for your page. And if you watch Shannon Green's channel on here, I'm aware that she has a video that was made not that long ago on how to turn those into nice sturdy paper that you can use. So definitely worth checking out. Okay, so basically I've trimmed this napkin down ahead of time so that it will fit on my page. It's probably not quite exact, but we're going to call it close enough. And I'm going to actually start with some matte medium, and I'm going to start in one area because napkins are very delicate and they do tear. So I'm actually going to start in one spot and work my way around instead of spreading glue everywhere and then trying to line this up. When you're trying to line up something like napkins or printed tissue paper or something like that, it's a lot easier if you start in one spot so that you don't have to try and line it all up and peel it back, and then it tears and then you're not happy, and none of that's good. So just want to go ahead and work our way around this napkin and get it smoothed out. It does not need to be perfectly smooth. Don't worry if it's not. Just smooth it out, pretty decent. A little bit of crinkle is not going to be the end of the world, I promise you. Okay. And you can use a fluid matte medium on this. I'm using this Deco Art Media matte medium because I just really like it. It's kind of thinner and thicker at the same time. I can't quite get past it. that part that I just scraped off was thick because it was on the edge, but it's almost like a jar of fluid matte medium that wants to be a gel medium. So it kind of just, it goes on nice and thin, which I love, and yeah, you can apply it with a spatula. I'm just really happy with their matte medium. I've really been liking it for my projects. So you want to make sure that you stay pretty gentle, especially as the napkin starts to absorb some of that medium and starts getting a little bit damp or wet from the medium, because that's when it'll tear. So go ahead and get that pushed down. I'm actually left it a little bit too long, so we'll see if that'll pull off without tearing too far. I don't want it to rip off the part that's on the page. Okay, so we got most of that little edge off. Get all those little bits. There we go. Okay, and then a coat of matte medium all over the top of it to help seal it down. And then this needs to dry. So I will finish making sure that this is glued down well, and I'm going to let this dry for a minute and then I'll be back with you guys. Okay, so I started to allow that layer to dry of the medium, and I'm seeing just a couple of spots where it's wanting to come up. So what I'm doing is applying a layer of fluid matte medium and kind of gently working it into the napkin, because it will actually soak through the napkin versus just strictly sitting on top. So that way you can make sure that this is fully adhered to your page. That is the most important thing, is that you make sure your napkin is not going to peel off of your page when it's all done. You might be a little sad. So fluid matte medium to kind of work its way down into the fibers of the paper and soak through, and then I will let this dry thoroughly. That partly is just so that I don't stick my arm into wet gel or whatever, but mostly it's because once this is dry, it has a layer of protection on it. So if I paint something that I don't love when I paint this, then I can wipe it off. So if you're newer to art journaling and you're really scared to try stuff, if you get a layer of acrylic down and you let it dry thoroughly, you have a very good chance of getting most of it off with a baby wipe, if not all of it. Some darker colors might leave a little bit of a stain or something, but if you really truly hate something, you can always paint over it with gesso and start again. But if you allow some layers of acrylic to dry first over something that you really love, then, or that you just really like, then you have the opportunity to clean it up if you have that layer of acrylic fully dry and you can wipe it off with a baby wipe. So I am going to lift the page, because I put gel medium and fluid matte medium all the way to the edges. I have a good chance of some of my pages trying to stick together. So I always like to lift up my page and just put something underneath and let that page dry, not touching the other pages on the edges. So I might need something a little bit bigger than that. So you can just use like a jar of medium or something and just let that page dry. So I'm going to let this get fully dry before I move on, and then I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I have let this dry completely now, so my napkin and the coats of matte medium are fully dry. Everything is well adhered, nothing is going to come off, so I'm pretty good. I have a little bit of an edge right here, and I'll worry about that later, just put another little bit of gel on it, or I just won't worry about it because it's in my art journal and it's not likely to come off. I've pulled out some of my Dylusions paints, mostly because I love these bright colors that they come in. They do have some really lovely colors. Still having issues with my pink and purple getting clunky and chunky if you've seen me use them, even with the new batch, but whatever. It still paints. I'm making do with it. Basically now what you do, you paint over your napkin. So if you don't want to draw, you can't draw, you don't care to draw, you want something that you're not able to draw yet, this is how I do it. So you could do flowers, you could do sailboats, you could do anything. There's so many napkins out there. So I just thought, you know, I know it's like fall, and I did my fall page last time for you guys. But fall here, like November right now, is kind of like summer to a lot of you where I live. So it's still in the 80s and sunny and warm. I mean, it's rainy. It's been rainy, but it's always rainy here. So that's not unusual. It's rainy and you're still in tank top, shorts, and flip-flops. So flip-flops, it works for me where I'm at right now. Do whatever works for you. You can paint anything. Anything you can get on a napkin. The Eiffel Tower. I have some really cool Paris ones. Some with butterflies. Whatever it is, paint over it. Do look at it. Make sure it's something that you can paint over or that isn't too intricate or too detailed if you're not at that level yet. And then keep the parts that you like on the page. Whatever you don't like, change it. Like, I don't know if I want all of them to look exactly like they do. Also, for some of these detailed ones, you can pull out some paint markers. I probably will use my Posca pens. I have this set of 15 colored Posca paint markers that was like, I don't know, 20 bucks or something on Amazon, somewhere around that price. And I don't think it was more than 25. But basically, you paint over. It's like paint over collage. That's all it is. Only instead of doing faces or something, we're doing fun, bright, something simple or something easier or just something different from always doing, you know, faces or whatever. Look at my clunky, chunky paint. Isn't that gross? They say you can add water, but I don't want to water down my paint. So far I'm still using it. It's still, I mean, if you work it a little bit, it kind of wants to behave like paint. I don't know. It works just fine whenever I use it with the spongy spreader. We'll see how it does for this. But basically I am just going to paint over everything that I have on this page. I'm going to leave the background, and actually these paints are a little bit matte too when they dry, the Dilutions paints, but the background is very matte because I use matte medium, and then it's a napkin, and so I might just leave it matte like that and add some parts that are glossy with some golden paints or some Deco Art Media paints, which are a little bit more glossy. I might even be adding some glitters. Whatever you want to do, do it. You can change it up however you want. You can keep it exactly the same. If there's some colors that you don't love, change it up. Change it up. Totally up to you. So I'm going to speed through this, or you're probably going to die from boredom. And it's just going to be me painting in all my flip-flops. And then I'll be back with you in a minute. Okay, so I'm calling it done. Let me peel the tape off here. There we go. Okay, so I'm calling it good. The only shoes I wear anymore, flip-flops. Like, well, here they're called slippers. That's all I ever wear, like ever, except for like, you know, fuzzy slippers when it's a little chilly at night. So I had a lot of fun making this page. I did have a little bit of trouble coloring in some things because my mind, I just kept changing my mind and changing the colors and doing all of that. But you can see that it can be a lot of fun to paint over a napkin and make it look a little bit like it was your design, which is kind of fun. I did add some glitter gel. This is Folk Art Extreme Glitter Craft Paint, and that's what I put over all of the little straps, and I added some gloss varnish over all of the shoes to make them shiny. Can you see the shiny? You can see the shiny, right? So the shoes are all shiny flip-flops, and then the background is left matte, which I really like, and that'll help the shoes stand out. If I wanted them to be even more stand out, you could go over it with a coat of like a gloss gel that's thicker. The varnish is very thin and watery, so that leaves it really flat, but if you want to add a little dimension, you can go over it with like a soft gel with a brush, and that'll give it a little bit more thickness, heaviness of the gloss, but I think the varnish is good enough. So I had a lot of fun making this page. I hope you guys had fun watching it. Hope you have a great weekend, and don't forget, hit the thumbs up if you like the video. Leave me a comment if you have any questions, you want to just say hi, you want to just visit, whatever. Please leave me a comment. I respond to all of them. Don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss anything, and I will see you guys all next week. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.